What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to my tiny garage. I hope everybody had a great Christmas and a good New Year. It's hard to believe we are into 2026 already. Not sure where 25 went, but either way, we are into 26 already, and we're ready to get at it. I wanted to bring a little bit of a different video for you here this time. Been taking some time off here at the shop for some holidays and family, of course. So I thought I'd do a little end of the year recap, first year of the channel. So I thought I'd go back through and talk a little bit about the videos and go back over them, just see what all we worked on, and maybe give some little insider information perhaps on some of those videos you might find interesting or at least entertaining. Before we get started on the first video though, I do want to take a moment and say thank you to all of you who watch the videos, who comment, who like, and subscribe to the channel. At the time of that I'm making this, we're just crossed over 600 subscribers, which is absolutely crazy that 600 of you guys enjoy watching the videos and tune in on a regular basis. So I just wanted to say thank you very much for your support. It means an awful lot. Go ahead and grab some popcorn and your favorite warm drink, hot chocolate, coffee. Get back in your chair and let's go back, open the archives up, and see where this year took us. Here we are with the first video. This is the garden waste snowblower that some of you might have seen. This one was featured in 3 or 4 videos, I guess. We'll see this one a few times coming up. But this was our first video on the channel. Now, this actually was done in December of 2024. The channel technically started the end of 24, but we just kind of lumped it all in here together with 25 because it's all within the same year, kind of just makes sense that way to do it. But yeah, this is very first video of the channel. This was just kind of a test piece. You can see I didn't really even film it the correct orientation. This was the first video that we did to see if it was even doable, to see if it was even feasible, something we wanted to even try. But we learned a lot from this video. This one was like I said, the very first one that went up live. So not a whole lot to it, not very glamorous, but it is the starting place of the channel as you now know it. Steel here. Customer said they were using the tractor to pull out a stump, and let's just say the stump I think took a little bit of a toll here on it. This is our first project for welding and fabrication on the channel. This was from a local customer who had this on their Kubota. This is to hold the stabilizer arm up, the 3-point arm up top, and I guess they bent it somehow. And this was our first task at doing that. We were using a gas welder in this video with a electrode rod from a stick welder as our filler metal. And the gap there that it broke, we were using that as our filler metal. It actually worked out really good and turned out good, and the customer was happy in the end. So, on tonight's agenda, going to dig out the Kubota and get the snowplow hooked up on it. This video here, the winter kind of snuck up on me a little bit, and I was pretty well unprepared. So I was showing how to put on tire chains and showing the right way to do that and trying my best to beat the snow. It's important, the hooks here for the chains, they obviously make a bend. So you want the sharp part or the end of the bend to be out away from your tire. If not, you'll rub against your tire and you can rub a hole in it. I made these custom brackets for the back of my snow blade for the 3-point of the tractor. I live on a stone lane and I didn't want to dig all those stone up every time I plowed snow. I know there's a popular way out there to use a piece of PVC and you cut it and you stretch it over the cutting edge. But I wanted a little bit better option than that, so I put these brackets on and installed plow feet, and they work really, really great. I'm able to plow grass with it, like the top of grass, and get the snow off of grass without digging into the grass or stone. And I can set this about an inch above, and it works really, really well.
On tonight's adventure, I have 3 pieces of equipment to go pick up. I'm in talks with a gentleman about 3 rototillers that he has. He says they used to run, but they haven't run in quite a while. So we're going to go take a look at them tonight and see if we can't strike a deal.
And we managed to strike a deal. The guy ended up being pretty nice, and we were able to strike a deal on these. I didn't get as good of a deal as I would have liked. For all 3 of these, I ended up paying 150 bucks, I believe is what it was. Now, that's not too bad, but you can get them a little bit better sometimes. Thankfully, these weren't in too bad a shape. We ended up getting a Craftsman front tine tiller, MTD front tine tiller, and a older Toro pony rear tine tiller. I still have the Toro rear tine still around here. That one I kind of looked into a little bit. That one seems to be missing some parts. So that's going to take a little bit of work to get going again. But I still have it here. I haven't gotten rid of it yet. The other 2, though, we were able to get running. They've already been sent down the road here earlier in the spring to their new homes. Overall, we made out pretty good on this. Not the best deal ever, but it was nice to go pick up some of these before the springtime rush started. Here we have one of the old sweethearts of the channel. This is the Garden Way Snowblower. This has been featured in a few videos now. And this originally started out as a project to flip. This was, of course, a project that I had planned on reselling that I had gotten for a good deal. And in this case, it was an obvious reason why it was such a good deal, because the poor thing was all but slap wore out. We replaced a bunch of parts on this one. The cutting edge was one of them. Rebuilt the carburetor, did all the fuel line. We found out that a few things just weren't quite right. The starter on it wasn't working at all, and I didn't really feel like replacing the starter. The headlight on it doesn't work. That means that I ended up figuring out the stator wasn't any good on it. Just a bunch of things like that were going to cause us problems. So it wasn't even worth a reflip on this one. So this has now been deemed as the shop snowblower. This is now my snowblower that I beat around with, and that's pretty good. We'll end up seeing in a future video here one of the upgrades that I did to it to make it a lot better. But we did get it running again. The carburetor from OEM ended up getting a hole in it, so we had to switch over to an aftermarket carburetor. But this was a fun project. The Garden Way Snowblower series, you don't see them around much. I've never seen one before myself. Kind of a unique unit. Nothing really special about it. Just a regular old snowblower. But just a name brand on it and, color scheme and so on. You don't really see on snowblowers anymore. So it was cool to work on. Fun little project. And I got a Weedeater snowblower out of it, I guess. On the bench here today, we have a 1987 Toro CCR 2000. This has a Suzuki engine in it. It's a 2-stroke engine, and not the easiest to find parts for. I will tell you that right now. It has been a little bit of a challenge. And that was certainly no understatement. Getting these parts for this carburetor was quite the challenge. I was able to end up finding them, but they were kind of far and few between on those gaskets. Some of the parts that I needed, but we did find them. I actually ended up having 2 of these in the shop. I have 2 of them. One of them I sold, and the other one I still actually have. I still have it around. Cool little machines. They don't make them like this like they used to, that's for sure. Suzuki 2-cycle. Real fun to work on. Cool to run. A little bit loud, but totally unique. Definitely one of those iconic 90s machines. And yeah, I'm going to probably hold on to mine for a while. They hold a little bit of a special spot. Get the door open here. Is your snowblower just not blowing the snow as far as you would like it to? Is your neighbor's new machine outdoing yours and throwing it 20 feet further? Well, in today's episode, we're going to fix that. And we certainly did fix that. As you can see in this video here, the gap between the third stage auger and the housing causes snow to slip by. And this was one of the issues that we encountered with the garden weight tiller, which this is the tried and true garden weight tiller in this case. That was one of the issues that we were having trouble with in the testing around the place, is that just didn't want to throw snow very far. So we opted for this upgrade here for this machine, and it actually worked really, really well. I unfortunately didn't get a before video before I installed the upgrade, but it was a significant upgrade. I think I talked about it there in the video, how much further it does actually throw. But the upgrade was definitely worthwhile, and if you're having any trouble with yours, definitely go watch this video and do this upgrade. It was really worth it. 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. This is about how much it was doing before, right about 15 feet. So 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 24, 25. So we gained maybe roughly 10 feet. We switched gears a little bit and did another fabrication and welding video. This one here, we did make a tamping foot plate for my Harbor Freight jackhammer. And the purpose of this video was to perhaps make a alternative instead of buying a plate tamper. So plate tampers are super expensive, and I don't have the use for one like daily. So I can't really justify going out and buying a brand new one. I've had my eyes open for a used one, but even those are super hard to find in any kind of reasonably good condition. So all I needed this for was pavers. There was a retaining wall that I mentioned in this video that I actually still have not even gotten to yet, and even some personal projects my own to lay some like pavers down for like a patio walk. And I was hoping that I would be able to utilize the jackhammer with the plate foot to take that place of a actual walk behind tamper. The first prototype in the video, it actually ended up breaking, so I ended up re-welding it in the video there and made it better, and it seems to be holding up pretty good. I have yet to actually use it, unfortunately, very hard, but in the little bit of testing that I did, it seemed to work okay. Hopefully I'll do a follow-up video to that sometime, but that's what we got into on this one. It's kind of a little bit of a side quest, and I was just curious to see if it would even work. On my bench here tonight, we have an old AMF 8 horsepower, 26 inch, 3-stage snowblower. What a thing of wonder this is. This is a heavy built snowblower, that is for sure. Everything is metal on it except for the front guard here. For some reason they decided to go plastic on that, but this thing is heavy duty, and I have to admit, pretty impressed with this thing. Looks wise, it looks like a beast. Never seen one before ever. Then it's quite the impressionable thing. To me, it certainly was an impressionable thing. This thing was built to last, no doubt. Everything was metal, like I said, except for that plastic piece. It was heavy. It was just, you just don't see them like that anymore. And in that way, it was super impressive. This was a lot of fun to work on. This had a manual clutch lever on the side instead of up there by your hand grips like all the newer styles have. This thing was pretty cool in a lot of different ways. We did end up getting it running in 2 videos, I think, and we had a problem with the transmission in it. You can see here one of the cotter pins was sheared out on the main gear to the main drive shaft, so we ended up having to tap that out, got that replaced, and we got it driving again pretty easily. It did okay throwing snow. The snow here in the video that I'm showing was pretty wet and heavy. Didn't do a super great job compared to your new ones. The RPM and gearing, I think, just wasn't quite the same, so it didn't quite have the amount of throw that your new ones would. But for what it is, it did a great job. I did end up passing this along, I guess not that too long ago, honestly. So hopefully it does good in its new home. Hopefully those owners enjoy it, and hopefully they can get a lot more years of use out of it. I have my personal gas air compressor on the bench for this one. This is a Honda GX240 engine on the air compressor, and we were having some problems with the fuel shutoff. You know how they got those little rubber discs in there? Well, we were having trouble with ours being worn out and not wanting to shut off fuel and dripping it everywhere. So, of course, I had enough of that, and we dove in on this video and got that repaired and replaced, and it's been working good ever since. I did have a little bit of trouble, ironically, with the compressor itself the other day, and you probably may not have guessed what the problem would have been. I had a whole bunch of problems with it backfiring, and it was wanting to backfire out the carburetor. So I tried everything. I tried cleaning the carburetor out. I tried. Um, I had another carburetor here with the same GX240 that I just rebuilt. I switched the carburetors over, did everything I could almost think of, and the very last thing I tried was adjusting the valves. And what do you know? The valves were out of adjustment. That's all it was. It was running lean because the valves were out of adjustment. Crazy things. You just never stop learning, even though sometimes you think you know what the problem is. It'll come around and still get you, make you humble. So I thought that was a pretty ironic experience. I didn't end up filming that, but while we were on the subject of the air compressor, I thought I'd tell you the story. But yeah, so never overlook those valves. This one was my very first Chinese clone saw. It just happened to be one of my friends, good friends, chainsaw. It's a Holtzfforma G372XP. It's supposed to be one of the clones for the Holtzfforma saws. I believe this is a 72cc or something like that. Maybe it's closer to 80. I can't quite remember now. Either way, it's a pretty decent sized saw. It has a 24-inch bar on, and we were just having some real trouble keeping it running. He was cutting with it and dropped it from waist height, so we thought that was contributing to the issues. But we found out I don't really think it was. We tried a different carburetor, we tried a bunch of things, and ironically, what it ended up to be was the fuel pickup tube line in it wasn't quite long enough. And so we ended up having to put a longer tube in it, and that fixed the issue. So once the fuel level was getting too low, it was starving itself for fuel. And I guess that'll do it every time. Sometimes it's the most simple things that we overlook, overcomplicate things. And this one here definitely taught me that to look for the obvious things first. To follow up that video, once we were sure the saw was going to run well, we went ahead and did a full service on it. So we went through and did air filter, spark plug, sprocket bearing, which of course a lot of people miss that, but that's important to make sure it's greased. So we made sure that it was all ready for wood cutting again and going to be reliable, and we sent it on down its way. As far as I know, it's been running just fine ever since. So I think we nailed it in these two videos for this saw. On my bench tonight, we have my personal 2,000 watt Dayton power plant, as they used to call them, or generator. This thing has been great to me. I use it primarily with my jackhammer a lot of the times on jobs out and about. But I have used it on home backup already and just some other odd and end things. Last time I went to use it, it had some trouble starting. Time for a tune-up on it, I would say. So today's adventure, we're just going to be going through, doing a simple tune-up on it, checking things out, and see what we find. And we did just that. We went through and serviced this whole thing. We rebuilt the carburetor. A little backstory on this generator. This was one of my very first ever purchases. When I got into small engines and working on them, this was one of the very first purchases that I ever bought. and I had full intentions of flipping this. But to be honest, this thing is so cool, I just couldn't get rid of it. It is nostalgic, it is a workhorse, it is simple, and I love it. And I've held on to it ever since. I've owned it for quite a few years at this point, and we it was just due for a service. So we ended up servicing it here in this video, and then the very next video, I was getting tired of carrying this thing around. So I had a old frame off of a power washer sitting around doing nothing, and it just so happened that the generator fit right on top of that power washer frame flawlessly and almost perfect. So we put it on that power washer frame, and I certainly haven't looked back since that. That made things a whole lot easier with getting this thing around and moving it around. I don't dread it nearly as much as what I did
Garage.
before.
I have a Craftsman tiller on the bench tonight. This is a 5 horsepower heavy duty counter rotating Tine 17-inch tiller. This thing has seen its fair share of the weather. It has been sitting outside for quite a while. I came across this thing not running, not functioning at all. I did have a little bit of time to spend on it probably a year or two ago now at this point, and I was able to get it to run, but it wasn't running very well. So the engine needs some help, and most importantly, the transmission does not work. The shifter is stuck, it is rusted in place. So that is kind of my primary function of today's video, to see if we can't get all this torn apart, and I want to get down on this transmission and see exactly what's going on down there.
And little did I know how hard that would be to get apart. We did end up getting it apart, but this stretched over a series of 5 different videos to get this up working again. This was quite a project. Ironically, this remains one of the most watched series on the channel so far. The repairing of this transmission, everybody seemed to really like that, and this is still one of the most popular ones to date.
Check out all that. So this is the shaft that outputs for the tines. So this is chain drive off the tines. And up here we have our input shaft, or gear selector, I'm sorry. So we have our gear selector here, which connects down into there. That slides on the shaft, which then would pick the gear for the chain drive. So you'd either have neutral or drive, or your tines would rotate. Then down here you have the drive for the sprocket drive for the wheel drive then. And this is all for the wheel drive. Things don't actually look too bad in here. They're not all rusty as I had thought they might be. I can definitely see that that is rusty. So what it appears is almost what happened is a bunch of water ran in through the gear selector and kind of pulled up in here and got some of them shafts really rusty and stuff, and they don't slide is what it looks like. So let's kind of pull this apart, get all this old grease out of here, and see if we can't fix this up a little bit nicer. Look at that. Just absolutely. Caked on there.
As much as an absolute mess as that was, that grease was absolutely horrendous to get cleaned up. It took me quite a long time. A lot of parts cleaner, a lot of paper towels, but we did end up getting it shiny again, but it really took us a long time. But we ended up painting the case, and we reassembled it with a lot of problems, you could say. The directions weren't, well, I say the directions, I say a print off from Sears.com of a old parts diagram of this tiller. And that was rather hard to decipher, but we did end up getting it done, but it took us a few tries, and we had to take things apart and redo them more than once. But we persevered, and we did get there. Everything went back together as it should have, and we were happy with the results. And of course, at that point, we were excited about trying it out. But the engine still didn't run. We got the transmission working again, but the transmission wasn't really the only problem. It was just the main problem because, of course, if the transmission didn't work, then it didn't really matter if the engine worked or not. So from here, then we moved to the engine, got that fixed up in relatively short order. Nothing real crazy there, just general wear and tear from bugs and sitting outside in the weather for a while.
All right, we got it all back together. Got it outside. Let's see what's gonna happen. Our fuel's on. Give it some idle. Switch. Try a little bit of choke.
Finally, after all that hard work, after all those hours, we had it back together. And it was running, it was tilling, everything was going fine, and I couldn't be more happy with it. And then, ironically, not too long after I filmed the outro of this video, I was using the tiller a little bit more because I had planned to, of course, pass it on to a new owner, and I wanted to be sure that what I was passing on was good quality and going to last and do the job for them. During my testing, a little bit longer after that, something jarred loose in the transmission, and we lost our drive and reverse. And I'm not quite sure if we lost our tines. It's been such a little while ago now, I kind of forget. But basically, something in the transmission let loose, and I was pretty upset about that. And I kind of stuck this under a tarp, and I haven't looked at it since. But I've been debating if I should get that out and do a follow-up video perhaps to see what broke. Chances of even getting parts in there for things that are broke is pretty slim to none. So right now it sits under a tarp, but if you're interested in seeing a follow-up video to that, certainly leave me a comment down below and I'll take it into consideration and maybe we'll do a follow-up video on that sometime. This video here was pretty interesting and it was a pretty hard one to film. I wish I could have relayed in the video how hard it was to find the leak that was causing all the problems. This was a leak that was in the hydraulic system under the hydrostat, and it would only leak under certain conditions. And I spent quite a lot of time trying to find this leak, and the only time it would leak, ironically enough, was when the mower blades would turn on. It wouldn't leak any other time. You can have the hydrostat completely hot, the fluid nice and thin. You could drive it all around up hills, down hills, over bumps, nothing would ever spill out. The only time it would turn on was when the pressure got high enough from turning the mower blades on somehow that it would cause a leak. And I spent so much time trying to find this leak. It was absolutely incredible. I don't think the video does it justice how hard this leak was to find. But we did eventually find it and we could repair it easy enough. All it was a simple O-ring. All the source of our problems was like a $2 O-ring. Pretty crazy, but as the saying goes, or at least the theory goes, it's always usually something simple. So in this case was no exception. Once we found this leak, we got that fixed, and then we went through and did a much needed service on this. This machine was in great condition. It just been a long time since it's been serviced, and we put new blades on it, and air filters, and all that. So go check that video out if you're interested. That was pretty cool one to film. I enjoyed that one. This Honda tiller is pretty unique. It's an old FR 750, and you'll see they have counter-rotating tines in here, which is pretty wild. I've never experienced that in real life before. You hear of counter-rotating tines, but these were almost counter-counters, almost double counter-rotating tines, how they all spin differently from each other. So that was pretty wild to work on, but we did seals and gaskets on that and all new tines, as well as a full service on this machine. So this was a pretty cool experience. Honda makes some great tillers. I don't even know if you can get a Honda tiller anymore, but I would sure grab one if I could. This was a very nice machine, very well made, and you just really can't beat a Honda. you recognize this tiller, this was one of the ones that we had gotten off of our tiller haul back. I guess that would have been the end of 2024. So that would have been one of the first videos on the channel when I brought home those 3 tillers. This would have been one of those 3 tillers. And we managed to get it running very easily. And it actually worked really remarkably well. We were pretty happy with it, and passed it on to a new owner, and they seemed pretty happy with it. So everybody was happy all around. In this video here, I end up breaking out my manual tachometer, so the old Briggs and Stratton wire vibration tachometer. Usually I just cheat and I use the digital tachometer, but I felt like this video here, this tiller, as old as it was with a flat head, it just deserved a little bit of a different treatment. So I ended up showing that off in this video. If you've never seen one of them used, go check that out. And they're pretty cool. Honestly, the science of how they work is pretty crazy, and how they use the vibration and the wire length to determine your RPMs of the engine is just pretty crazy. Definitely a nice tool to have in the workbench when you can't get an electronic one on some place.
And on my bench today, we have a Husqvarna self-propelled push mower. This is a customer's machine that we are looking into. We're not doing too much more than just a pretty good service on it. Right now, it does not want to run. It does run on choke, so if you press the primer ball, it does run for as long as the fuel lasts. But after that, that is all it wants to do. So we no doubt have a carburetor that we need to clean and possibly rebuild some of it. And from there we should be good to go, and we'll do some service items, oil change, blade sharpen, and give it the works there. We have a Murray push mower, and this thing is definitely a barn find if I have ever seen one. This thing is pretty rough. We got hay in it, we got dirt everywhere is what we got. I don't even know if this has oil in it, to be perfectly honest. It does pull over, but pretty hard, and I think the brake might be stuck on, but we're going to find that out. So in this video here, I thought it'd be a fun project to see if we can get this running again, see if we can get it operational, and don't know what we'll run into, what we'll find, or what we'll learn along the way. So let's go ahead and jump in and get started and see what we got going on with this thing.
Despite how rough it looked, we did end up getting that Murray running again, and it wasn't too much trouble, just a lot of dirt and really not much else, honestly. But what we did find is the wheels on it were pretty well shot, and I've done this repair before where you drill out the wheel and put a little spacer bushing in it, and that really does help. So I made a video on how to do that, and some of the options that you have for repairing it. So if you have this problem with loose wheels and you don't really want to spend $25 per wheel or more, go check out this video, and it might help you out. If you got some of the tools already and you don't have to buy much, and I think it came out to be honestly right around $5 per wheel if you want to fix it this way. But yeah, go check this out and you might find it useful.
Lined up in here about as straight as we can get it. Just start working it its way down in there. And on my bench today, we have a Poulan Pro pole saw. This is a 2-cycle pole saw that was given to me by a customer to work on. Now, it's important to note that this machine has not run in quite some time. This was, from the story that I got, pulled out of a real estate sale, and it hadn't run quite a long time before that.
Yes, the infamous customer story. We've all experienced that one, I think. It either ran yesterday or hasn't run in years, but there's really no damage and nothing really ever happened to it. Well, surprisingly, in this case, it actually ended up to be right. This was actually a super easy fix, definitely a by-the-book fix. There wasn't anything crazy on it. It was very easy, straightforward, and to top it off, it cut nice, which is great, because that's pretty well all this thing is geared to do. It actually was a really nice pole saw. Not usually a big fan of Poulan products, but in this case, this was actually a decent machine for what it was. I think if I didn't have to cut too many things, definitely wouldn't mind having one around myself. We got a Cub Cadet 1529 in the shop, which is an older Cub Cadet, and that one needed a lot of work. I think that ended up to be a three-part series, but that was a really good project. I enjoyed that one a lot. We started out with the mower deck while I was waiting on some parts to get there for the mower, and you'll see here we had to replace spindle bearings. So one of the things with Cub Cadet is they really like to discontinue parts. They are not one to keep the parts chain alive. So because of that reason, we had some spindles going out that couldn't be replaced. The only thing that we could do was open them up and hope that we can get bearings for them. Thankfully, in this case, we were able to get bearings and races easy enough. And we even replaced the belt idler wheel, or the belt idler pulley, I should say. That bearing was going out too, and I could get the bearing way cheaper than I could the pulley. So that was a first experience for me. I know people have done the tension pulley bearing before, but that was the first time of me actually attempting it, and it was successful. So I really enjoyed this process here on the mower deck. Need it probably could use some welding here in the future on it, but bearing wise, it should be pretty sound. Then we moved on to the mower itself, and the mower itself was in okay shape. It needed the steering gear replaced, the main steering gear down underneath the right behind the front axle, I guess. That was all worn out, and the bushings in there were needing replaced, as I'm showing here in the video currently. And so that was a pretty easy job to do. Thankfully, everything came apart super well. But we had some slop up at the steering wheel, and that part was a little bit more complicated. It actually wore the plastic, so there's the plastic dash that the steering rod came through. It actually wore that out so much the steering shaft itself was super sloppy. So we had to weld and fabricate our own bushing that would fit in there around the shaft into the plastic and allow that shaft to spin without eating away at the plastic anymore. So that was pretty cool to do. Never did anything like that before either. That was just kind of an idea that I kind of went with, and it actually ended up working out pretty well. It tightened things up. Customer was super impressed with how tight his steering got after changing those items, and yeah, that was a fun project. The last thing I want to mention about this machine here, which is honestly probably the one of the coolest parts about this is actually a subscriber's machine. So this is one of the subscribers that I know local that watches the channel, and they really wanted to see this repair done on the channel. They wanted to be able to watch the repair and see all what we got into. So that was pretty cool. That was a really neat experience, and it sounded like they had enjoyed the video and enjoyed the repair as well. And yeah, that was definitely a first for the channel. This video was a big milestone for the channel, not so much with the machine that I was working on, but this was the first video that we were able to get a sponsor for. HIPAA Parts was kind enough to reach out to me and offer their parts, as well as a coupon code for you guys to save some money on. And they were kind enough to send to help us with two videos. They helped us with this one and then another generator video coming up. And that was really cool. I don't do a whole lot of aftermarket parts, or at least I try not to, because luck is kind of rough on some of them sometimes. But HIPAA Parts is one that I do trust and I do use them, and they are probably one of the better aftermarket companies you can get. They do a lot of carburetor stuff. They do chains for chainsaws. Honestly, they have a lot of items, a lot more than you might think. So definitely go check them out if you are looking for aftermarket parts. I'm not getting paid to say that. That is just my opinion. That I use them. I like their stuff, and from my experience, you can't go wrong. If you're going to go aftermarket, then I would go with HIPAA. But yeah, this was a big milestone for the channel to get recognized like that. I think we were around 300 subscribers at the time, which was absolutely crazy. And yeah, they reached out first. So that felt really good and it was really cool to work with them. Super nice people. Would definitely do it again in the future.
Well, I'm pretty impressed with that for a barn find and something that's been obviously sitting around for a while. This actually runs really good. On my bench today, we have a heavy-duty Huskee 5 horsepower counter-rotating tine tiller. That is a mouthful, but we have one on the bench here, and this would be one of those classifications of I think we got another barn find. I bought this off of a guy used sight unseen, and I have no idea if it runs. I have no idea anything. The only thing I can tell you is that the motor does turn over. Other than that, I can't tell you much at all. We have a tire that's completely flat over here. We have tines that are absolutely caked with weeds. We have a huge amount of oil on the front of the machine here. We don't really know much of anything when it comes to this tiller. We got everything in neutral. Oil's checked. Let's see if it's going to start up for us. Go on to choke. Give her some throttle. See what happens. Go about half choke.
I'm happy to report that this tiller went a whole lot better than the Craftsman earlier on in the year. This one here was very simple to fix. It was just neglected a little bit, needed a little bit of love. But after some belt changes, some tune-ups, and a tire that was flat that got fixed, this thing was good as new. This moved on to a new home, and the owner was quite happy to have it. Seemed like it should suit them well, and we were much happier that this one turned out much better than the Craftsman did. This one here, we strayed away from the main purpose of the channel usually, which is repairing equipment, and we decided to use a little bit of equipment in this video. I do chainsaw milling a little bit on the side. I originally got into it when I needed some lumber for myself, but that turned into doing some projects for some other people. I do it every so often when I get a small order, and I thought what a better way to demonstrate the difference between freehand chainsaw milling and chainsaw milling with an Alaskan mill. So if you are interested in any of that, go check out this video. We ended up back with the Murray push mower back on the bench on this video here again. This is the one that we fixed the wheels on a while back and pulled it out of a barn. Got it running again. This one here ended up having some leaky oil and it was dripping out of the muffler. So we had to figure out where that was coming from. And ultimately, that ended up being the piston rings. So we ended up putting new piston rings in it, honing the cylinder, relapping the valves, and getting it all back up to par again, which it actually runs really well. I had intentions of moving that on this year, but time kind of got away from me, and it's actually still around here, so it will probably be a spring sale for me. We will probably send that out the door here come spring, but yeah, the repair went great. It still runs great, and it's just waiting for that new home. One of our other bigger jobs for the year was the John Deere Gator. That came in needing quite a bit of work. It originally started out with a hard to start issue, hard to stay running issue, which through our testing actually ended up to be the coil or the magneto in the engine itself. This is actually the first magneto I had to replace for the year. This was not usually a very common problem, but it was in this case. That led into a bunch of other things. We ended up rebuilding the carburetor. We ended up cleaning that all out. That was pretty bad. We got that all done. We ended up doing the clutches. We replaced the drive belt and the clutches, redid all the clutches on it. I learned a lot with the John Deere Gator in that way. I've never dealt with centrifugal clutches before like that. So I had an enjoyable time learning about those and getting to work with them and learning how to adjust them. Yeah, I learned quite a lot on that one. In that regard, I enjoyed that video and the project itself, really. Try to think of what else we did to it. We did quite a lot, it felt like. Of course, we retuned it. Um, Let me think. Oh, we had a flat tire, so we ended up fixing that and got that back fixed again. But all in all, we did get it running, and it runs absolutely fantastic as far as I'm aware still. I know that the facility that was using it really missed it, and they were super happy to have it back in good running condition. This is their go-to vehicle, as a lot of these UTVs usually are. So they were quite happy to have it back in 100% working condition again.
Well, I think we probably solved the problem, it would seem like. We just had this thing out and around for a while. Ran this thing for about 30 minutes up and down the road and through the trails. Got this thing up some pretty steep hills and down through some terrain, and it performed well. The clutch didn't slip at all. Belt's not smoking. Everything seems to be alright. Let's see if it restarts. Oh yeah. And on my workbench today, we have a very dirty, somewhat old looking, falling apart, gummed up Powermate 2000 watt generator.
The old Powermate generator. Yeah, this is a good one. This one here is actually still in my shop in the back corner of it. This one here, I pulled out of my small engine shelf and decided to try to get it running again. This was right on the heel of a power outage in the area, and I had just sold out of all of my generators that I had in stock. So I figured it was about time to start going back through some of the ones I had and see what we got, kind of see where we wanted to go, and see if I could try to replenish my supply before, of course, we needed them again. So I thought I'd start with this one. Didn't quite turn out as I had intended, but I don't think we're done with it yet. I have a little bit more in store for it. But this was a monumental video in another way. This was our second sponsored video with HIPAA Parts. So they were nice enough to send us the carburetor for this, as well as some of the other maintenance items on it. And of course, we really enjoyed working with them again. And so that way was a monumental video for that. From here, though, the next video we decided to do two birds with one stone, they say. I wanted to test out the compression and leak down of this generator to try to figure out where I wanted to go from here. Yeah, so I ended up making a video then on the difference between compression and leak down testing. So that's what we did in this video. Give a little bit of insight what the differences are and how they are used a little bit differently. Finding this Mighty Mac wood chipper was one of the best finds from my year of 2025 for sure. I've been wanting a wood chipper for my personal use for quite a long time, and I don't really like the cheap kind that have the chipper blade attached right to the crankshaft itself. I've actually ended up ruining one of those. The seals on the back of the engine they just can't take that abuse of that heavy blade spinning around, hitting wood all the time. It just doesn't last very long, and I have been on the lookout for one that was belt drive, and I just happened to find this one. They were asking 75 bucks for it, which I couldn't beat. It took very little work to get this thing going again. It works really great, and I just couldn't be happier with this. Not only was this a really fun project to work on, it also crossed off a list item for me of something that I've been wanting to find, and I finally found one, and I was able to make a video on it, which is super cool. This video here, we made it back around to our Tecumseh generator, and in an attempt to get it to run a little bit better, we decided to lap the valves. So we went through, and I made a video here on removing those valves and lapping the valves in. My hope was to give it better compression. So it seemed like the issue was that once you place the generator under load, it was wanting to die down and not keep RPMs up where they should be. Lapping the valves did seem to help. It did seem to do a little bit better once I did that. However, it did seem like that there was still a issue that wasn't going to solve. And I believe the direction that we're going to be end up going on this, if I decided to fix it fully, I believe it needs new rings, and the cylinder probably needs honed. I think we're losing a little bit too much compression past those rings, and we're just not able to keep that high end under load power that we need. I have it still sitting in the shop. I'm not quite sure yet what direction I'm going to go on it. It's not really worth to put a whole lot of work into, to be quite fair. So I'm kind of on the fence about that one. That's kind of a rainy day project. It's just sitting in the corner for now, still waiting on its fate.
Today we have a customer drop off. This is a tractor PTO, something you would use on like a bush hog or some type of rear tiller, something like that. And we have a little bit of an accident here. You can see this is supposed to be straight, and it is not straight anymore. Today's project, we have a new guard to put on it. We got a new shaft here for it, and it looks like we're going to try to reuse the cross bearing on this. It looks like that's going to be okay yet. So our job is to flip the cross bearing over to our new shaft and yoke, put on the new guard, and hopefully they should be good to go again. Tonight we have my personal chainsaw. It is getting around to be firewood season here for us. It's starting to get cool. I think we got our first 30-degree night coming up here very shortly. So it is time to start thinking ahead to a little bit of firewood. And to do that, we're going to need our chainsaw. We have my personal Echo PAS 2620 weed whacker, bush cutter, and I even have a leaf blower attachment for it. Haven't got to the pole saw yet, but we're working our way there. It's the end of the season here for me. I don't really anticipate using this much more this year. I think we're pretty much past the grass growing season, and we are now into the leaf falling season. So with that being said, I would like to go through this machine and kind of get it ready for winter, get it cleaned up maybe a little bit, and go do some maintenance to it before we put it away into storage. So that way. This is a Toro. It's an old Toro Power Shift 828. It's been sitting here for a little bit of time. Meant to get to it last winter, and just didn't have time to. So we're gonna get this thing dragged into the shop here and see if we can't get this to run. I have no idea if it runs, and if it does, see if we can't get this thing to perhaps function and throw a little bit of snow.
The good old dead equipment drag. Haven't did one of them yet this year. This was the first real good one that we had to do, where absolutely nothing but dead weight and just drag that thing into the shop. We got it there though, and we ended up figuring out that didn't have any spark. It was not only was it a coil issue, but it was a grounding issue as well. So we were able to figure that out, and we were able to get it running. And that's kind of where the video stopped on this. I did 2 videos on it, and we got the engine side working, but it doesn't drive. So it's still sitting. It's actually still sitting on my bench. I intend to get to some more videos on it, so keep an eye out for those here. Hopefully in the next few weeks, hopefully of 2026. But I had a big rush here at the winter time with a bunch of customer work that I wasn't quite expecting, but that's okay. I will gladly take it. but kind of shove this snowblower off to the side here for the moment. So it's sitting on the back burner, but I do intend to get back to it and finish that. And this will probably go to a new home whenever it reaches that point. But yep, it does run for now, at least the engine side of it. So stay tuned for more videos on this here coming up. I had a customer bring in a steel leaf blower, a BR450. This was an exciting video. This was my very first commercial account, you could say. This was the very first commercial piece of equipment that I worked on for a commercial business. So this was an emergency repair. This was something that ended up working on the same day it got dropped off, and this was a good experience. This was a positive experience. It actually ended up going well. This was a new purchase by the company, and they ran into unexpected issues with it, as sometimes happen when you buy used equipment. So we ended up rebuilding the carburetor, doing some fuel filter work. The stop switch on it was broken, and yeah, we ended up doing a fair amount to this one, but this one still runs really good. As a matter of fact, I was out just servicing another piece of equipment for this company here the other day, as they were using the leaf blower over there in the background, and it sounded good, and was screaming along as you would expect a leaf blower to do. So this one turned out really well. This is a good experience, and this is actually the first backpack blower video, I guess, that I've made. So yeah, very cool. Hopefully we'll do some more with them in the future. We made it back for another welding and fabrication video, and this one here, we had a lot of these towards the end of the year. For whatever reason, they seem to pile up there all at once at the end of the year. Didn't plan for that to happen, but it was kind of nice that it did happen, because once I was kind of in the welding and fabrication mode, it was just easier to roll them all out. But we ended up making these brackets for a project that had been started quite a while ago at this point. So we made some custom swing set brackets for a customer that we worked with in the past, and they turned out pretty good and be super strong.
And we got a flat tire to fix in today's video, so let's hop on in and see if we can figure it out. First thing we'll do is put some air in it, because it is totally flat. See if we can spot a problem. Kind of rolled it around a little bit, didn't see any kind of nails in it real obvious or anything like that. The only thing I can say is back on the back side here, there is a mark on the side of the wheel with a little bit of red paint there. I don't know if perhaps it was leaking around the bead at once upon a time, and that was marked from a tire shop, or not exactly sure.
I enjoy doing tire work. Probably something I'm sure that y'all don't know about me is I spent, let me think here. I spent close to 4 years, 4 to 5 years in the commercial tire industry. I started out as a shop tech, and I moved on to be a road tech, all the way up to an emergency service type road technician. I was on call for tire work. I did everything from small car tires the whole way up to big farm tractor tires. So I would do the combine stuff, sprayer tires, all kinds of things. And I like doing tires. They're easy. They can be a struggle sometimes, but I do enjoy doing them. They're pretty straightforward, and they're almost easy. It's there's not a whole lot to learn to them, to be honest. They're all pretty similar. There you can learn a lot of things about it, but overall, it's they're very easy to work on, and I do hope to be doing some more videos of them on the channel in the future. We might get into fluid filling some tires, and perhaps doing some other stuff. But a little bit of a tidbit about me there, and why the tire work might look like it comes across kind of simple sometimes. I've been doing it for quite a while. But yeah, hopefully we'll get some more content on tires in the future. And now we have reached probably the most controversial video on the channel so far. And rightly so. This is probably one that is definitely a sensitive topic for sure. This one here, I shortened a tractor's rollover protection bar on a subcompact tractor. And this is, I'm going to go ahead and get it out of the way and just say that this is not a recommended repair to do. This is not recommended by any tractor manufacturer, and it's certainly not recommended to do by me here at the channel. This is a do at your own risk and understand the risks if you decide to do this modification. This is a piece of safety equipment, and you really shouldn't be modifying safety equipment. That's generally a frowned upon practice, not only, of course, for legal situations. I am not a lawyer, but that is a possibility, of course, in today's world and society. Uh, the issues develop when you mess with safety equipment and accidents happen. In this video, though, apart from that, we had a customer that wanted to get their tractor into the garage. They are uh, they are elderly and they are unable to very easily get on and off their machine to fold this bar up and down all the time. So we ended up shortening this bar for them so that they can easily use this machine for their intended purposes. So definitely a unique repair. It's one that turned out really good as far as the fabrication part of it. We ended up sandblasting this and repainting it, and the project itself turned out really well. It matched the tractor perfectly. You can't even tell that this modification was done. They were very happy with it, and it will greatly improve their lifestyles, the way they want to use the tractor, which is great. But yeah, can't stress that enough. Though this is not something that I definitely recommend doing, and this is not something that I make a practice of doing. This was a little bit of a unique situation on my side of things. This was their own decision to make. So, but yeah, fun project otherwise, and definitely a controversial video for sure. But there you go. There's the rundown on this one. Coming into the last video of the year, I guess it would be technically the last three videos of the year because I have it broken down into three parts. We have the Bobcat Zero Turn, and this was a plot twist for sure. This was something that I had in my shop that I mentioned in the video prior. I just never filmed it. They were getting an oil leak out of the oil drain tube on it, and so they wanted that fixed. So we had quickly changed that drain tube, got the leak stopped, or so we thought. And we also had an idle issue, so we ended up adjusting the carburetor, giving it a little bit more RPM. Seemed to be doing a lot better, but unfortunately the oil leak didn't stop. And ironically, I had this sitting at my shop for quite a few days after I did the repair, and the ground was completely dry. Didn't show any signs of leaking oil. Wasn't until it was on the trailer bouncing back to the customer, of course, setting at their shop, that the oil leak started again. So we ended up pulling the engine on this. I thought it was an output shaft seal. I'm going to still say it was an output shaft seal. 50% of the problem was the output shaft seal, but we also had a cracked sump pump or oil pan. And the deduction that I've made from that is those mounting bolts for that engine happen to go right into the bottom pan. The one that was cracked is one of those bolts that you have to remove in order to change the mower deck belt. I'm going to say over the years of use, however many times that belt has been changed, people have been taking that bolt in and out, and we're probably getting a variation of torques on that bolt. And I would say one of those times that bolt probably got cranked a little bit too hard and ended up cracking the pan over time, made a weak spot, and this is where we ended up. So we ended up replacing the whole pan on the bottom. That stopped the leak. And we, ironically, then, of course, were able to fix the idle issue. So we had a little bit of a vacuum leak because of that hole. So we were able to get that fixed, got it running back the way it should be, and we're able to get that back to the customer. This was a tight one to fix. I was pretty swamped with projects at the time, but they really needed this machine back for leaf cleanup in the fall, and uh, I had a little bit of time to work on it, but I was pretty against the clock for this one. And to find out that it was the oil pan and I had to wait for a new oil pan to come to me, it was a pretty close call, but we managed to get it done, thank goodness, and the customer was super happy to have it back. I was super happy to have it fixed and working the way it should again, and everybody was happy all around. So this is a pretty cool one. Don't normally pull engines on mowers, but we ended up pulling this one. Thankfully, it was pretty easy to do, pretty straightforward, fun project. Cool. That was quite a lot, huh? Looking back on the year, it's hard to believe that you did that many or did that many projects when you're in it and working through it. You don't really think too much of it, but putting this video together here for the end of the year was pretty crazy. Pretty cool to see from the beginning of the year, things I'd even forgotten about that I worked on. I was like, oh wow, I did that. Yeah, that's actually pretty cool. I didn't remember I did that. If my count was correct, I think there should be 57 videos featured in this year-end roundup. I know all of them weren't from 2025, but we were able to post one every week of 2025, so that's 52 right there. I hope this was a fun video to watch. I wanted to do something just a little bit different for the end of the year, just kind of a little montage, a little something fun, a little entertaining, hopefully, to kind of watch back over my year, and for even the new subscribers that are here that may not have watched since the beginning of the year. This would be maybe a quick way to get acquainted with the channel and see where we've been in the first year, and kind of get an idea of where we started at. I can't thank you guys enough for your support, your comments, your likes, and watching the videos. It means a lot to me, and it's crazy that just a guy like me can make videos like this that you guys find entertaining and inspirational, and maybe that you even learn something from. That's pretty crazy, and that's very humbling, and definitely not something that I take lightly. One thing that I hope to do with this channel is to inspire other people to go out and try something new. I didn't go to school to do these kind of things. A lot of what I do here, I've been self-taught, not only through books and reading, but through YouTube. A lot of my knowledge, what knowledge I have, I guess, has come from watching people do repairs on YouTube. And I wanted to give back. I wanted to give back in that way to hopefully inspire other people to try something new, or to perhaps even help other people learn if they want to learn about something. Or maybe just for the person that has their own machine that they just need something fixed on and want to watch someone else fix it and try to learn how to do it. I find making these videos fun, but not only that, it's something I want to do to give back to a place that has taught me a lot of things. And I hope that I'm able to do that to the best that I can. We have a lot in store for 2026. I've already got some ATVs lined up for the beginning of the year. That should be fun. Of course, we got lawnmowers scheduled. We got snowblowers scheduled. We got everything scheduled. 2026 is lining up to be a pretty crazy year, and I am very excited. I'm not big on New Year's resolutions or anything like that, but one thing I do try to do from year over year is push myself a little harder. That doesn't mean that I try to work myself to death, but that means that this year I always try to do something better for myself and better for my family. And if I could say anything at all, I would challenge you to do the same. Maybe pick something that you wanted to learn about, or maybe choose something that, maybe a place you wanted to go or something you wanted to accomplish, and try to make that happen this year. Just choose one thing. Just choose one thing, focus on that thing to better yourself, your community, or your family. Maybe all three at once. And just make that happen this year. I suppose you probably all listened to me ramble on and on for long enough. After all, this is a repair type channel, right? This isn't a podcast. So I suppose I will wrap it up here. But as always, I thank you guys very much again for watching the video, for your support. And if you're not subscribed and want to see what we got in store for 2026, make sure you are subscribed so you don't miss those future uploads. Drop a like on the video if you liked it. It helps out the channel, and of course doesn't cost you guys a dime. And with that, I am off to work off a little bit of leftover holiday pie, and we will see you guys in the next video.